So before we begin today's video, I just would like to say that if you are watching this video, know that I am currently at MegaCon. Yes, the big event that happens here in the Central Florida area that everybody goes to, and it's probably one of the biggest conventions every year. So I wanted to let you guys know so that if you guys see me there, feel free to come up to me and say hi, and let's have a conversation about movies, TV shows, whatever you guys like that is of geekdom. So feel free to do that. And also, I might shoot a vlog this year. I don't know, I'm still questioning it. But if you guys would like to see a vlog on that, feel free to go over to my vlogging channel right there. And you guys can go ahead and actually see the vlog, hopefully. And I might post it down the line. So maybe by April, I'll have something posted in terms of MegaCon. But we'll see. But nonetheless, let's continue. Listen, sometimes a movie falls into your lap at a moment where you're like, I have nothing else to watch, so I'm just going to watch this instead. And then, you know, in your own expectation, you're like, oh, I thought it was going to be one thing. And it actually turned out to be something different, and in a good way. And I feel like that applies to Anaconda. Now, no, I am not talking about Anaconda from the 90s. I'm talking about Anaconda from 2025. Yes, the one that came out last year. Now, I remember seeing the trailer to this film, and I just saw like, okay, they're trying to like reboot the movie, and it had some little comedy elements and everything, but it felt like they wanted to do that movie like over again. And to me, I was like, I never watched that version. I still haven't watched that version, but I was like, okay, they're trying to reboot it. Is there like some sort of like element here that makes me want to go and watch the other one? But I feel like after watching this film, I am somewhat curious about watching the first movie, because ultimately this movie is way more than just a spoof or a spin-off or even just a comedy film. I feel like there's a lot of redeeming elements to a movie that deep down I thought was going to be absolute crap. So on the surface, we typically will see this film as just a comedy and just write it off as a comedy. But as I was watching this film, I was like, wait a second. There's some story here, or we're building some like sort of like character development here. Like we're understanding where these characters are coming from, why they are doing what they're doing. You know, these are like people who as kids wanted to be, you know, filmmakers. So you have this sort of like build up to the story. And I feel like ultimately when you're watching a film, you want to connect to a character. And, you know, Jack Black, who plays Doug, I mean, I kind of almost immediately connected to him because he is like a wedding editor. Like he edits weddings for people. So he's like a little like wedding films. He does wedding films, as they like to put it, in quotation marks. And it's a coincidence because that is something that I also do for a living. So it's like there was some connections there, which is really interesting. And, you know, that desire to do films and work in films, and that, which is also something that I would love to do, is actually working in the film industry. So, I mean, that right there was an immediate connection. And I feel like it played really well into the comedy as well, because there's so many moments where, you know, they like play it off like, oh, go back to doing your, you know, your wedding movies or your wedding films or videos or whatever. And they just kind of like play it off. And I find it so funny because it plays into the comedy really well, what he does and ultimately where the story is going. And I feel like that also extends to, you know, Paul Rudd, who's in this movie, who, you know, does a great job as well, wanting to work in film as an actor and like understanding who he is as an actor. And he's like sort of like a B-level type actor who showed up in SWAT of all movies, like shows, I mean. So I mean, like, they just totally play it off there as well. And I love that. I love the chemistry here between, you know, Jack Black and Paul Rudd in this case. And obviously adding in the third element with Tandy Way Newton as well, who is legendary, absolutely a great actress, and having this sort of like three-way of three people who love filmmaking. And then you have Steve Zahn, who also plays Kenny in this one. He's the comedic actor. He is the role of the film that ultimately, people are going to have a kick out of, because he is very comedic in this film. Now, all of it works great. All of these actors are fantastic. They play their roles really well. And, I feel like everything falls into place very well with this movie. Now, are all the jokes gonna land? No. I feel like I only started laughing at certain jokes like almost halfway through the film. And I feel like that was probably when the movie sort of started getting funny and that sort of thing. But the moments where it's not funny, I feel like there's some depth to these characters. These characters truly want to make movies, so you feel like there's some level of care there. And when I approached this film, when I saw that the film was there, I was like, you know what, I'm probably gonna put it on and I'm probably gonna fall asleep watching this movie, and I didn't. And it actually garnered some of my attention. So I feel like that is a win in and of itself. And besides the main four characters that we also have surrounding characters. So obviously we have Daniela Melchior, who plays Anna Almeida. Honestly, I saw her right in this movie, and I saw her outfit, which in interviews, Daniela actually says that she wasn't like super comfortable, because she was like, oh, I have to do like action badass sort of thing, and my outfit is like super tiny. But mind you, seeing her dressed the way that she was immediately gave me the idea of like, I don't know, maybe we could get her as like Tomb Raider. I mean, like a Portuguese Tomb Raider would be really cool, and I feel like that would work out really well. So yeah, she looks great. She does a great job in this film, portraying a character that's kind of mysterious, and then ultimately we find out that she's kind of like a criminal who's trying to, rob gold and that sort of thing. Like, she plays a smaller-ish role in this movie, but I feel like it's comedic in the way that she played it throughout the film. Like, she plays it very straight, but there are moments where you're like, oh, okay, like she's playing like a double role. And ultimately, in the very end, it's funny how she like dies in the movie, but nonetheless, she does a great job in this film. And also, I have to shout out a fellow Brazilian as well, Selton Mello, who did great in this movie. I heard that this was his first movie as, like in an international film per se, and he did great. He was super comedic, super charismatic in the movie. Plays the role of like, a snake handler. Honestly, there's like 3 different scenes that he pops up in, and it's just absolutely funny, seeing his reaction to certain things. So honestly, huge props to him and doing a great job in his first international film. Now, there are some surprise pop-ups in this movie. Two notable ones that come in at the very end of the movie, where you're just like, oh, great, they're gonna have a pop-up in this movie. And yes, one of them is obviously J-Lo herself, Jennifer Lopez, and the second one being Ice Cube, which is awesome. So I mean, having both in this movie as a nice little callback to, Anaconda and the movie that they played back in the 90s, cool little callback. Just having them pop up. That was a cool move by them. So I'll give them props for accepting the quick cameo. Now, most people online were calling this movie just absolute crap. Like, it's not worth seeing. It's garbage. I mean, just look at the Rotten Tomato score, how divided it is. Yeah, it's pretty divided. You'd think that Rotten Tomato score should be a little bit more like evened out. But I knew that the critics did not like it, but the audience seems to kind of like it, which is interesting, because most films that are comedic, either the jokes are going to land a lot with people or they're not going to land at all. But I feel like this one had a bit of a mixed bag, which honestly, like, I kind of expected, because the whole approach to this film is more comedic than anything. even though that there are moments that I would see people having jump scares and being like, oh crap, like holy cow, this is great. But I understand where the polarity is in this case, because most people would expect to have something more drama based, more dark, or a little bit more sinister, and they decided to take it in a lighthearted way because I feel like a lot of people have this sort of fondness for that movie who went to go see this movie, and ultimately it did pretty well at the box office, considering the budget that it had. It did pretty well. So honestly, they garnered a nice little following with this film, because this is a movie that, as much as I thought was going to be terrible, it surprised me. It's a movie that I would easily put on TV and just watch. Just put it on TV while I'm like flickering through the phone, or maybe just like, you know, as a second screen kind of experience. I had fun. I had fun with this film, and it truly deserves to at least be seen once. Now, there are little references here and there in this movie that you know, you catch on, whether they're talking about, you know, something in pop culture, or, you know, making fun of the movie itself, or the movie making process itself. I love those little references to like movie making. And I mean, I feel like the funniest reference is not even a reference that most people will pick up on, but it's clearly in the face of anybody who is paying attention. And that is when we see Paul Rudd and Thandie Newton like literally dressed up as, you know, they're like Jurassic Park. Like just look at this. Like, it literally is a reference to Jurassic Park, which is funny because most people who are watching the movie is not going to catch. They're just not going to catch this little detail. But if you are a quote unquote movie savant, you know that this is easily something that would easily pop up on your brain when you see it, because it's pretty obvious that it is a callback to Jurassic Park. So I honestly love when they add these little Easter eggs into films, because it's kind of like the director's way of saying like, oh, this is a little nod to whatever film that we're watching, or it's a way of adding comedy through a very simple reference. And something I also would like to point out, and I feel like this applies to most people who watch movies in their like language or their home language. I feel like it's very fun to watch a movie where you have characters where 99% of the movie is in English, and then you have that 1% where you hear characters speaking the language that you typically speak at home. So seeing people speak Portuguese in this film, it's very interesting. It's very interesting to see the dynamic of two different worlds, even though the movie does take place in the Amazon, which is in Brazil, so it's to be expected that you would see that. So I thought it was really fun. Now, I do have to have a small shout out to whoever was the dialect coach for Daniela Melchior, because she did a great job kind of emulating a bit the Brazilian accent. Because as some people don't know, Portuguese from Portugal sounds very different than Portuguese from Brazil. It's a very different dialect. So I feel like seeing how well she did speaking, you know, Portuguese, almost like Brazilian Portuguese, whoever the dialect coach was, did a great job, because I am dumbfounded at how well she improved from what she did in like Fast and Furious, because she's supposed to play a Brazilian in Fast and Furious. And honestly, like with her Portuguese accent, it didn't really like garner to me the attention of like, oh, she's playing a Brazilian. I feel like in this film, she did a much better job with her accent. But then again, that is a small critique in, you know, a movie that is a whole lot of fun and isn't supposed to be taken all that serious. And one of those aspects that make this movie great is the length. This movie is about an hour and 30 minutes, and the pacing is excellent. I mean, there's not a moment in this movie where I'm like, kind of dragging. No, there's no dragging whatsoever. It is a very nicely paced film, and honestly, they get from point A to point B really well, adding comedic elements, adding some, thriller-esque elements here and there, but ultimately landing and sticking the landing of the film and being just a good, fun little comedy film that honestly at times is a bit heartwarming, and others it's just plain fun and silly. And all in all, I think this film did great. I mean, it's not the greatest movie of all time. This isn't a movie that's going for Oscars or Emmys or anything like that. It's here to just be a fun little movie and have fun and not be super serious about things. And I love films like that. Sometimes films like that need to be made in order to be a little bit more, kind of break away from all the drama and like thriller and sort of like dark filmography that we are used to. Like I like a little bit of levity, and this is a light-hearted film to watch. So yeah, I enjoyed every single second of this film, and I don't know, maybe you have a different perspective on this film. Maybe you see things differently than I do. Maybe you like this movie. Maybe you didn't like this movie. Maybe this film pushed you to go watch the very first Anaconda. I don't know. Maybe different things went through your head while watching this movie or when you watched the trailer. I want to know what you thought of Anaconda, either way, in the comments down below. And while you're down there, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell to be notified when new videos go live on this channel. And thank you so much for watching this video. And I'll see you slithering in the next video.
Scrolling through YouTube, same old routine, then bam, movie savant, what a scene. Trivia bombshells dropping knowledge like rain. Forget the dishes, gotta watch it again. Movie buffs unite, savants to place. Subscribe and hit the bell, don't leave a trace. Next level knowledge keeps you in the loop. Savant's got the scoop, ain't nothing to recoup.